Hello, everybody. This is Stefania Montalti from CEPI. And first of all, I want to thank everyone for choosing to listen to this speech, which will be centered on the topic of circularity, so the circular economy and its products, and the way it intersects with bulk handling. So I'm presenting in my role of the communications manager in CEPI and the sustainability strategy coordinator. Just a little introduction about what CEPI does. CEPI is a company that an Italian company that since 1985 has been designing, producing and commissioning bulk handling systems for the food industry, so confectionery as well. We work with all sectors, and even though we are based in Italy, we work globally. You will see as I present the way bulk handling and circularity have many overlaps. I will get into the method. This is a little recap of the topics I will expand on today. So first of all, we will, of course, describe what the circular economy is, break it down to its basic principles and steps, and talk about its products. I will go into the tools that have been developed to measure, for example, circularity of a product, because we did apply one of these methods to our installation, and I will illustrate the result we got. And then, talking about this result, I will describe what we think is the main reason why we got a good result, which is a design method that has been applied for decades in CEPI, much earlier, before we started even knowing what circularity is. I will get just quickly in closing into topics of durability, revamping, which are fundamental traits of our installations, which also are fundamental traits of products that are fit for the circular economy, and close with a few more notes on notions of modularity and versatility and adaptability. So let's get into it. What is the circular economy? This is a basic definition. The circular economy is a model of production and consumption. It aims to reduce waste to a minimum and to promote recycling and reuse of raw materials and products. Its ultimate goal is to reduce the consumption of primary resources. I shared here a few activities that are very encouraged under the circular economy. And they are sharing, leasing, reusing, repairing, refurbishing. As you notice, it's all activities that are aimed towards singular end, which is to prolong the life cycle of products as much as possible. Circular economy is a model that has been establishing itself in the past years very rapidly as a reference point for those who wish to promote sustainable development, and it has been in its totality or in part also adopted by governments all over the world. For example, it has been used by the European Union, US, Japan, China. And let's break it down a little so I can maybe convey a little better what exactly it is and what it wants to do. First of all, I will say that these are generally recognized as its basic principles, and they are based in design. I'll try to explain why. So first of all, we want to eliminate all waste or pollution. Why is this? In the economy that we are in right now, which is called a linear economy, we usually work this way by taking materials from the earth, making a product, and once the product has been used, we dispose of it as waste. So what we recognize if we operate within a perspective that we need to move to a circular economy is that this system is not sustainable. We have not endless resources on the planet. What does this mean in terms of design? Of course, it means designing. I will go a little more into this later, but designing by using as little virgin material as possible. You want still, the second principle is that you want to circulate products and materials as much as possible, keep them in use. And this is also something that is done through design. And it's done through design by designing something that can last, usage, and it can be promoting more than one usages, shared, and so on. It can be repaired easily, for example. the ultimate objective is the one is to regenerate nature. So we shift from a model where we extract from nature to a model where we help nature regenerating. This is also interesting because another important way of thinking that is shared generally by those who believe in the circular economy is that if we shift toward this way of doing things, we start to imitate nature and to behave more how elements in an ecosystem behave, because in nature there is no waste. Everything goes back to the next process. Once we have talked about, we have established this as our principle, if we want to change our own processes into processes that are more fitting and we want to implement a circular economy, this is what we can do. We can use renewable resources, we can focus on their origins, and we can also focus on the way these resources will be able to be used at the end of our process. We need to design products so that their duration is increased, that they're easy to reuse, that they're easy to break down into components that can be used. They can be used to create even more products in the next cycle. And ultimately, we want to stop, producing waste. So that is something that is applied to the design for the end of life for both the product and the packaging. This is a diagram that I wanted to share with you because it's very, very complete. It's very technical, so I won't talk about go into all its many details. It's called the butterfly diagram. It's been developed by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which is one of the most authoritative foundations internationally, one of the most authoritative organization in terms of the circular economy. Their goal is to favor the passage to a circular model of production and consumption. Very briefly, I will say that this starts from materials and considers their production, their manufacture, splitting it in various stages, and then it arrives to users and consumers. In the right part, we talk about the finite materials, so it's called the technical cycle, and all the activities that are promoted to, make it so that waste is not produced. It's called leakage here. So we don't go here, past collection, but we reintroduce some way both the product and its parts and finally its materials in the next manufacturing cycle. This side is called the biological cycle, and it includes all the various actions that can be taken on biological components. Same goal, to gather as many new nutrients, for example, from them as possible. I'm going to get to the conclusion for this. So the definition of a circular product, I think it is quite intuitive. If I explain myself before in terms of describing a circular economy, what is a circular product? It is a product that fits the circular economy. So this product will have little or no need for virgin resources, and it is designed with the end of its life in mind. Because this product re-enters the economy once it's been used, and it is a product that is designed so keeping in mind the various stages that I showed in the diagram at in the last slide that I was on before. So think about recycling, start from resources, and then move on to manufacturing, think about the use, and go on to what happens then. How do you recycle? What happens when the use is complete. In order to establish how circular a product is, there are various tools. The tool I will talk about today is called the Material Circularity Indicator, and it's been developed by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which I described before. This is an indicator that measures products on a scale between 0 and 1, where 0 is a product that's not circular at all, and 1 is a fully circular, completely circular product. The analysis is made with a very technical study of the origin of materials, so you extract information about the origin of the materials used in the product. So you look at what fractions come from recycling, what from reuse, and what fractions are biological. Then you think about the product itself and its use. So you gather information about its durability, the average durability in the sector, utility, intensity of use. And finally, you look at what happens at the end of the life of this product. So what part is recyclable, what part can be reused, all the operations that I described before. So we did this study on CEPI with an engineering agency that applied the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and I'm sharing the result with you, which is 0.7. It is considered high. And as you can see in this table here in the top right, what we did was we were the first in Italy to do this, not a study. We did decide not to study a singular technology machine, but we wanted to study sample installation for reasons that I will get into before, but we do consider the system in its totality as our product, not just, a silo or a dosing point, and so on. So here is briefly the information we extracted, the materials that are involved in the production of our installation, their origins, and then information about what happens at the end of the life of our product and how it is used, so durability and use intensity. So there are a few things that I would like to go into. First of all, the two results that made us the most happy. It was, I'll just make a little premise. The reason why we focused on this indicator is that we had intuition as soon as we started talking about circularity that we were going to have a good result. And this intuition came from policies that we have always applied. And one of them was, of course, one that is about the method. I will get into it more in detail later. And another one is the fact that we know that we use very recyclable materials. So the recycling efficiency is 84% and the durability is 30 years if the user doesn't decide to intervene before. And we were expecting actually, in general, even to go even higher than this. What happens is that this is a very special, very, very particular period in history. And there are certain industry-wide factors that have impacted, in particular, the way we procure steel. And we were able to procure less recycled steel than usual this year in particular. So what we imagine is that as soon as the procurement of materials will go back to normal, this number will go higher. We also have made it as our strategic goal for the future. And so let's focus on a little what we think caused this result. I think the most impacting factor was the method we apply in bulk handling. And this is a method that when I dissected it early on, before I said, I've been doing communication for more than a decade and I've been talking about this method. And what was very interesting for me when I started getting to know circularity and doing my own research was the familiarity of a lot of language and words and concepts that the thinkers in the text of circular economy were giving me. I could recognize that we were talking about the same thing, so the same concepts that were already present in this method. This is a method for designing that is mostly focused on creating turnkey installations. So what does that mean? That when you do bulk handling, you want to, of course, manage all these storing and transport and dosing operations, but you can do it in different ways. Our way is aimed at making the user independent and to provide a very high level of customization. So this means we provide solutions that meet their specific needs. How do we do this? We always keep in mind that we need to have an organic way of thinking and a long-term view. The organic way of thinking is not only about the installations we create. So you consider that storing, transport, and dosing operations cannot be looked at just independently from each other, are not isolated. They have to be observed and designed with their totality in mind. But we also apply this process to the user, our customers. We don't just gather information that's technical, not just about current production, but we go into marketing, into purchasing, into branding. Our goal is to have a long-term view. So it's to create solutions that are flexible and do not preclude any choices that they might want to make in the future in terms of new production lines or changing something. So what happens? What happens this way? This way, what we achieve is installation that is very open to future expansions and changes, and that is how these two characteristics of our installations emerge, which are durability and the ability to be very easily revamped. I go to the bottom of this slide first, which maybe will make it easier to understand what I say later. So we start from the design method. We keep in mind expansions and modification. We design with an approach that makes the technologies themselves, the machinery, flexible and modular. In this way, we achieve a very strong ability as a company to revamp our installations and to keep them in circulation. What was asked, what the circular economy asks of us. So activities that are those that I mentioned before. Remember, reusing, repairing, refurbishing. All these activities represent one of our main strengths, and in this way we achieve the durability of the installation, which is what we think is the main reason why our indicator was high. This durability is the reason why the installation and therefore the process of who uses this installation is both environmentally and economically sustainable. Why I mentioned this? I mentioned this because the reason why I choose to talk about circularity is that what I wanted to convey, because when we decided to make a little more official our sustainability processes and to certify our processes, and we became familiar with circularity, what was made very obvious to me is that sustainability, which is environmental and economic, are not separated. They go hand in hand. And that was one of the goals in sharing my insights today, is to convey to you that they shouldn't be taught as a separate parts, but they are parts that once applied go together. They make your process sustainable both economically and environmentally. And when it comes to circularity, that is where my presentation ends today. So what I would like to close with is a few suggestions. First of all, after thanking you all for listening, I would like to tell you that if you're interested in learning more, please get in touch either with me or you can explore this page where all of our actions towards sustainable development are described, environmental, social, and economic. And in case this made you curious to get a quote or start preparing a project with us, so develop your own bulk ending process with us, also please don't hesitate to contact us because we are always very excited to meet new challenges.
Stefania, thank you so much for joining us here today at Confectionery Live and for delivering such an insightful presentation. Emulating nature in the production process is a very fascinating topic. Could you tell us why you wanted to talk about this topic in particular?
Yeah, I have two answers. So one is personal, more personal, and the other from the perspective of manufacturer. So personally, I am genuinely, honestly, very passionate about this. So I thought being invested into topic, that meant I was going to be able to convey it in a a clear way to convey what it is, how it works, and why is it actually very relevant to our lives. And it is a very starting topic, I think, that is quite useful, to understand actually what sustainability is, and because sustainability is such a vast topic, it has impact on, I think, every aspect of human development, actually. So if you can get an in, we hear these words so much, and maybe it's starting to, not really assign the way that we should assign to it. So I thought, well, I'll try to share my insight. Maybe it will inspire someone else as well. And from the point of view of a manufacturer, I think I mentioned this before, but for us, it was really illuminating to start confronting, to learn about the concept of the circularity of a product. Because what we were learning during this whole process, I mean, not just learning the beginners, notions, but going very in deep with it during the assessment. It was very illuminating to discover concepts that were very familiar to us. I mean, I was recognizing things that were already in our process, very important part of our process. So what I thought would be, I mean, it's not just the confirmation that you're working well, that was satisfying, but it's also, I think, something, an experience you wanted to share, because I think it's proof that if you work, you can integrate, the perspective of sustainable and economic and environmental sustainability. They can and should be integrated, in my opinion.
I think we're all learning in some way, and I'm sure those watching will have learned some interesting insights from your presentation.
Hopefully.
Are there many overlaps between your method and circular economy approaches?
Yes, actually, really many. I couldn't fit everything in the presentation, but so when we talk about circular economy, I was saying before, it's vast. It's very vast. I think one of the fathers, we could say, of the circular economy, Walter Stachel, he's a Swiss architect, and he talks about the circular economy as a framework. It's not just a theme, a model, because so much goes into it: science, biology, engineering, sociology, psychology. So you can look at it from many perspectives. So when I was delving into it from all these perspectives, I kept going, oh, I know this, because, as I said, I could recognize wording, language that I'd been using in my role to talk about our machinery, our process, our method. So one thing that's very interesting, for example, is something that Benius is a woman, is American science writer. She coined the term biomimicry, and it means that to imitate nature to solve human problems. And what she says is that, in her opinion, a model should try to build resilience using diversity. What does it mean? Means going into concepts like modularity, like adaptability and versatility, because the more you add these sorts of traits, different materials as well, the more you make your system resistant to shocks. And modularity, adaptability, versatility, these are words that I use so many times to describe our applications, because our engineering team works to have it designs for modularity. It's one of the main principles. And another things they do is to make the machine as open to customization as they can. So that means it's a very flexible, very adaptable design. And that's one thing. And for example, another thing that is recommended is to have to switch your way of thinking under the circular economy to systems thinking. So you should try to, work like an ecosystem and try to understand every element is connected to the other. And I think I use the term organic a lot in this presentation. And what is systematic, if not another word for organic, right? I mean, I think it was 10 years ago, I was asked, I was doing an interview about our production. And I was asked, what is your most important product? And what I said is like, well, there are many important products, but I cannot mention a single application, because for us, our product is the system, the installation. So here we go, another way in which I was reminded of the way we think about things. I'll talk about think local. That's another thing that's recommended in the context of the circular economy. So, and that's another way we can
go back to the concept of ecosystems. Like, you are an ecosystem, and in nature, in an ecosystem, you use resources that are at hand. So you're encouraged under the circular economy to use, resources that are part of your area, of your community, and to, investigate, find underused resources, and think of yourself in relationship to other participants, and so you can impact each other growth in this way. And this is also something that has always been part of our way of doing things. So we have mostly local suppliers, and we have very tight relationships with schools and universities. For example, we do organize our trainings in the territory. That's the Italian word we use to talk about this. So yeah, even this way of thinking about yourself as being a part of an ecosystem, so everything can grow together, that was very familiar.
It's a very interesting way of looking at it. But as you were talking about it, I was sort of just picturing in my head what it would look like. So I think it's a very interesting take.
Yeah.
In what other ways are you meeting sustainability demands with your technologies?
Yeah, so I'll switch on a more technical topic now. So that is what I talked about in the presentation, is the design approach to the system. But when we go into the single machine, the single application, the way we do the engineering, the way we design them is also always aimed at, trying to reduce the energy and the materials consumptions. That's also something, of course, we are asked more and more by our customers. So not just in terms of the transport system, where we try to, of course, do a high efficiency transport system and do individual, if we are asked, individual analysis of the energetic impact. But I'll do a few examples of technologies, maybe. For example, the blending. The blender is one of the latest innovations we introduced, and it is designed to optimize mixing and production times, because it's not just the transport, that people want to make more sustainable. It's also production, the mixing of ingredients, the preparation. Invert sugar technology, that's also, it was designed to facilitate and reduce the process times. We introduced a method for sanitizing and to do disinfestation, total disinfestation of our silo. And that is completely eco-sustainable because it's done through heat. Doesn't use any chemicals, any toxic gases. So that's another way we do this. We do it flour cooling. Our flour cooling process is gradual. So in compared to a rapid cooling process, it really dramatically decreases the consumption of energy. The automation is also, it respects the logic of being modular and customized. So when you have a scalable automation that's very specific and doesn't, just proposes a package, we adapt to what is asked of us. There's another way in which you can optimize pretty much every process.
That's great. Thank you, Stefania.
Thanks for having me.
It's been great to learn a little bit more about CEPI's offering. If anybody watching wants to learn more, then please visit their booth in the exhibitor section of the platform.
Thanks for listening again.